Je anilo premadano karma kacho
We are lecturing from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Thus far we have been discussing chapter 7, entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. It is important for us to understand how Krishna's energies are working. Because to understand the opulences of the Lord is one of the aspects of Bhakti. Krishna has described, touch me, hear from me. Shinkatam Sakata Krishna Punyashavana Kirtana Ridhilim Tasova Vimami Ridhamoti Suritsitam. This is the most pious activity of all, to constantly hear Krishna Katha. And as Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna Katha doesn't only mean to understand Krishna's dancing Rasa Lila with gopis, but it means to also understand how Krishna is healing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra with his friend Arjuna and other Pandavas. And it also means how Krishna plays through his different expansions, like the Purushas, for expanding the material creation. The material energy is one of the three energies of the Lord. And now, beginning with text A, Krishna explains how he maintains everything in this world. As we read from text 7 yesterday, the example Krishna gives is, everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. And we mentioned how the necklace, when you see a pearl necklace, you only see the pearls. You don't see the string on which the pearls are strung. So similarly, it is not so easy to see how Krishna is behind this material creation. Srila Prabhupada sometimes used to give the example that when he was a small child in Calcutta, growing up in Calcutta, he would see the electric tram car. Those of you who are familiar with this system, I don't know, I don't think in Bombay they had electric tram car.
Long time they had it.
Long time ago. But in Calcutta they still have it, isn't it? Up and down they go. Especially I know next to that Central Maidan. What is that street? Huh? Esplanade. Yes, Esplanade. They go up and down. So Prabhupada said that when his father used to take him as a small child on the Esplanade and other places, he would see the tram line running on the electric connection going. And he would think that if he put that electric wire on his back, that he would also be able to go. So, this is a child's nature, that they do not understand precisely everything. Like Prabhupada said, sometimes the child says, I want to hold the moon. And the parents have to give the child a mirror, and the moon is reflected in the mirror, and then the child thinks, now I'm holding the moon. So, for a child, these things are understood simply like this. And similarly, for those who are childish in their knowledge, even big scientists, they do not understand how Krishna is behind the material energy. They only see the material world, but they do not know how Krishna is behind it. So, we also are in ignorance. You can get in a chair. You can wait for a minute. Okay. We also are in ignorance about this body. How often do you think that there is a soul that generates the energy which makes the body work? Usually we're simply absorbed thinking about our body, but rarely do we recognize or remember that there is a soul that is making everything possible. Similarly, the big soul, Prabhupada calls Krishna in one purport, the big soul. The big soul that is behind this entire material cosmos cannot be understood or seen very easily because he is not material, he is spiritual. And the whole purpose of Krishna Consciousness, just like coming up soon, Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day is coming up on Saturday. For those of you who don't know, we have a program in Clear Lake at the house, not at the house, but in some hall, organized by Radhesham Sharma, so you're all welcome to come there and celebrate Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day. Maybe Lord Nrsingadev wants to make a pastime, because you know that when one of the places in Nrsinga Kshetra, in Namadweep area, there's one lake near where Lord Nrsingadev landed. So maybe Lord Nrsingadev will dip himself in a clear lake. Is there a lake there?
It's not very clear.
It's not clear, but when he puts his feet in the lake, it will become clear. So, one of the special purposes of the Leela of Lord Nrsingadev is to show how Krishna, as the Paramatma, is everywhere in everything. Prahlad Maharaj says to his father Hiranyakasipu that my Lord is everywhere. And Hiranyakasipu says, everywhere? Is he in this pillar? Yes, Father. And so Lord Nrsimhadeva comes right out of the pillar. And this demonstrates how God is everywhere. But unless a devotee calls on the Lord will not manifest himself to our naked eyes. Therefore, the deity form must be installed by the devotee of the Lord. Unless the devotee of the Lord calls upon the Lord will not appear before us in the form of the deity. Similarly, unless we become a devotee of proper standing, the Lord will not manifest himself in the form of his holy name. That is why you chant, and still it is very difficult to be able to appreciate the presence of Krishna, because we lack proper bhakti. So, knowledge helps us to see, to understand. Just like, how do you understand how big the sun is? Not by seeing. How do you understand that you can't hold the moon in your hand? Not by seeing, by knowledge. Knowledge is important. But this type of knowledge that we are talking about is Vijnana, Savijnana, transcendental knowledge or knowledge with realization. Ordinary knowledge of material energy, just like now we're going to hear Krishna describing about his opulences, how he is everywhere, behind everything. This may seem to be ordinary knowledge, but it's not, because its purpose is to ultimately understand Krishna is the cause of everything. So we have to read all of these scriptures with the proper interest to try to understand Krishna. And for this, we need the help of Krishna's devotee. The devotee who is so strongly attached to the lotus feet of the Lord will help us to be able to perceive Krishna in everything, everywhere. So we pray for the devotee's mercy. All the Vaishnavas are always praying for the mercy of the Lord's devotees. So now, listen. Krishna says, text 8, Raso hamap sakonteya pravashmi sasi suryayo pranhava sarva vedeshu shabdake porosham nishu. Now Krishna is going to explain how he is the cause and the essence of everything. He says, O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and the ability in man. Taste of water. Water's taste should be pure. For example, no one likes to drink seawater, salt water. It's unbearable to drink such a thing. But when water is in its pure form, then that pure taste in the water is one of the energies of the Lord. The essence of water is its purity of taste. Prabhupada says that when we hear this Rasoham Apsakonteya, Prabhupada gives a very broad interpretation of this term. Because Ras means taste, and Apsu means water. But Prabhupada says, he gave a lecture once in Bombay, and he said, even a drunkard, if he remembers this sloka, and thinks that Krishna is the taste of this liquor, he will make advances. Prabhupada gave this example in the Bombay lecture. Somehow we have to see Krishna in everything. For example, the light of the sun and moon. I remember once one of Prabhupada's disciples, Ray Rama, came back and said, I just saw a beautiful sunset. And Prabhupada immediately asked him, he said, that is Maya. He said, because what you should see is the beauty of that person who has created the sun. If the creation is beautiful, then how much more beautiful is the Creator? If the creation is wonderful, how much more wonderful is the Creator? This is actually the difference between the personal and the impersonal appreciation of God. The impersonalists, they only can understand God's creation. But the personalists can understand that behind the creation is a supreme individual, very intelligent being. The impersonalists will understand the sun is coming from, originally the light of the sun comes from the Brahma Jyoti, which is the origin of all light. And that's as far as they'll go. But the personalists will think, no. Just like will think that the Brahman, or Brahma Jyoti, is the shining effulgence of Krishna. Just like we see this electricity in the form of light. We may say it is beautiful, it is wonderful. But there is a powerhouse which this electricity is supplied by. Similarly, Krishna is the all-powerful powerhouse that empowers everything. Om, the sound, Pranava Om, is a representation of Krishna. So, in the Vedic mantras, the Om must be there, which means Krishna must be there. Om is a beach. And the Om represents Krishna. That means in every Vedic mantra, it is powerful because of Krishna's presence. Otherwise, it's not powerful. It's not a Vedic mantra. So, these are some ways. And finally, the ability in man. Whatever extraordinary ability. It's like someone's taking a test, and Krishna gives them the ability to get a good grade. This is Krishna's ability. Krishna is coming within you and helping you. Someone goes at sacred time and does nicely, Krishna is giving you this ability. Someone goes and parks their car in the wrong place, and Krishna withdraws intelligence. Sarvasya Chaham Riddhi Shani Vishdo Mantish Vitir Gyana Apolana. I cause remembrance, I give intelligence, I cause remembrance, and also forgetfulness. So you forget what you read in the rules about driving when you took your driving test, and you stop in the middle of the road, and immediately Krishna's representative comes to catch you. So, everything is controlled by Krishna, even positive as negative, as we said. Even demons are controlled by Krishna. There's no one that is not within the jurisdiction of the Lord. Just like the law abiders and the law breakers. They're all living within the land of the government. But some are working in cooperation with the government, and others are breaking the laws of the land. But everyone is living in the kingdom. So this is the point. Everything Krishna says, everything is under my control. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarva. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarva pravartate. Everything is coming from me. Everything. Everything is strung on me as pearls are strung in thread. Then, in the next text, Punyo Ganda Pritivyam Cha Tejas Jasmi Vibhavashu Jivanam Sarvabhuteshu Tapas Jasmi Tapasvishu. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Everything has an original fragrance, not only earth. When Krishna says, I am the fragrance of the earth, it is not only the fragrance of the earth. It is the fragrance of any substance. Just like nice rice, when it is cooked, right, it has a very good aroma. The steam comes up, the smell is very nice. Or pure ghee has a very good smell. But everything, a flower, you smell a nice rose, or gardenia, or some jasmine, very good smell. All of these original fragrances are representations of Krishna. Krishna gives that ability. It is actually wonderful how water is falling down, and from the earth comes a flower, and suddenly then each flower, according to different seeds, produces so many different varieties of fragrance. This is the beautiful artistry of Krishna. An artist can paint on a canvas a beautiful rose. But does it have any fragrance? No. So even though an artist is given so much glory, just like some artists are awarded national prizes for their ability, but the atheistic government will not give an award to Krishna. Although Krishna says, I am the ability, then I gave this artist the ability. And Krishna himself is so much better of an artist, because all that the artist did was copy what is Krishna's original natural creation. And when Krishna made the rose, he made it with fragrance. He made it with such a soft touch to it. You just see. And he didn't have to do it personally, because we learn how all of these things are separated material energies. These energies work without Krishna's direct supervision even. An artist cannot paint unless he does it all himself. But God is such a great artist that he has his energies which do everything for him. If we have this knowledge, we will more and more appreciate the wonderful nature of Krishna. And then, when we hear how Krishna is playing in Vrindavan, with his Madhurya Sada, with his friends, the cowherd boys, with the gopis, we will understand it is this wonderful person, Krishna, who has made his whole creation. And beyond all of this creation, he has his abode, his associates, his pastimes, and these pastimes will be more and more wonderful. First of all, we will appreciate with such great appreciation. And then as we absorb ourselves in hearing these pastimes, because we will give ourselves to these pastimes, we will have the conviction, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. If you don't have conviction, you can't surrender to Krishna. That's why you're advised to go through Srimad Bhagavatam beginning with Canto 1 and work your way up to Canto 10. So that by the time you reach Canto 10, you're fully convinced of how wonderful and great Krishna is, so that when you hear Krishna's personal glories, you surrender very easily. You have no doubt in your mind, this is not an ordinary person. That's why people who are not properly trained, when they hear Krishna's dealing with the gopis, they think it's some ordinary, lusty, boyfriend-girlfriend business. Because they have not gone through the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. You see these artists, they paint a picture, of Radha and Krishna, and sometimes you can say it's not proper. Krishna looks lusty or Radharani looks lusty. But if an artist has some right understanding, then you'll see very innocent look on the faces. Only devotees actually can paint Krishna conscious paintings. Only devotees, Prabhupada said, can act in Krishna conscious dramas. Only devotees can actually dance in Krishna conscious dances. And only devotees can actually discuss Krishna topics. And therefore we are advised to be very cautious in hearing from unqualified speakers. Persons who make a profession of speaking topics about Krishna, who are making their own living doing this. We have to be very careful to avoid this. Unless someone is properly trained up in Krishna consciousness, they will not be able to speak properly. Krishna says, I am the heat and fire. That is easy enough to understand. Without heat, no question. Fire. Fire must be hot. That means Krishna is also the fire of digestion. And when the fire of digestion goes out, it is a sign of impending death. Prabhupada gave the example that his father lost his appetite. Last 4 months, his father did not eat, and the same thing happened to Prabhupada. His appetite went away. That fire of digestion is Krishna. When the fire of digestion goes, you can try to keep someone alive by artificial means, but actually it is a sign. We should not be afraid of the signs of death, but we should accept that Krishna is calling us and prepare ourselves for them. And old age will come, disease will come, death will come. We should not be afraid. Sometimes people become very much afraid of death. They try to run away from it, to avoid it. But you cannot avoid death. There's a saying, sure as death. Death is certain. And there's no way to avoid it. We have to prepare ourselves. And that preparation is done by Krishna consciousness. If at the end of life you are able to remember Krishna, then you don't have to take birth again in this miserable material world. No more tickets from policemen, traffic violations, traffic courts, and all the other nonsense we have to go through because of life in the material world. Just like when I asked Prabhupada, what is the spiritual world like? And Prabhupada, at the time there was a big Vietnam War, Prabhupada said, in the spiritual world, no draft boards. You won't get drafted into the military in the spiritual world. No McDonald's, no, whatever you find detestable in this material world, you will not find it. We have to work for it. You don't go back to Godhead automatically. Today is Ekadasi, mother of devotion, and we are very happy that we can all be together, hearing about Krishna in nice surroundings, see the deities, hear the kirtan. Very fortunate. We're very fortunate. It's not, that anybody that can do this. Otherwise, where is everybody? Right? There's millions of people living in this city, and only 100 of us are here. If you can say, well, it's because you didn't do enough preaching. That may be, but even if we preach, maybe there'll be 200 people. Of course, if we tell them, anyone who comes tonight will get it, $100 or $200, or you can win a car, a free car, a trip to where? Hawaii. Then they'll run here. And sometimes we think that we should make such material offers to people. It's like Prabhupada, at one time, not Prabhupada, but the devotees, the Bhakti Godhead editors, they were advertising, chant Hare Krishna, and it will empower you to do so many things. They were giving their testimony. Remember that? I chant Hare Krishna to run my printing press faster. The Bhakti Godhead printer wrote that. I chant Hare Krishna, I don't remember there were about different people to get rid of them. To recharge my batteries. Prabhupada said it's all nonsense. That's not why we chant Hare Krishna. We chant Hare Krishna to please Lord Krishna. Please Srimati Radharani, and for no other reason. That's why we chant Hare Krishna. I remember, or to please our Guru to chant, because he asked us. I remember my godbrother, when we first joined, he got a big picture of Prabhupada's ear. And he used to just sit with the photograph of Prabhupada's ear and he would chant Hare Krishna. Because his mood was, I want to please my spiritual master with some chanting. That is good. It's the right thing. Pleasing Guru is not different than pleasing Krishna. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada, yasya prasada nakati bhagavati. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one gets the mercy of Krishna. And without the mercy of the spiritual master, no one can make any advancement. It can seem to be advancement, but actually it's not so. Just like one may seem to be chanting Hare Krishna, but we know that if one is committing offenses, the chanting has no value. It's just like if you have a gun and you fire blanks. The sound is there, but there's no bullet. So chanting while committing offenses is like that, especially Vaishnava Aparata. If you offend Vaishnavas, you may chant from the lips, but the bullet will not be there. There will be no effect in the chanting. We have to see a person's activities, not only on a superficial level, but in all respects. And then we can judge whether someone is making advancement. Krishna says, I am the life of all that lives, and I'm the penances of all ascetics. Here, tapa means austerity. And when Krishna says, I'm the penance of all ascetics, he means that I am the capacity to tolerate austerity. Not the capacity to tolerate austerity. What is the greatest austerity? To preach Krishna consciousness. The greatest austerity. Therefore, we feel that Srila Prabhupada was the most austere of persons. Very austere person. Because he preached Krishna consciousness at the end of his life. Can you imagine when someone is 70 years, now you're feeling tired, right? You're only 50 years old, 50 years, 45 years, 55 years old, and you're already feeling tired. Some of you are only 20 years old and feel tired. Imagine how 70 years feels. How old are you? That's right. How many years old are you? 73. Do you feel tired? Anyway, he looks tired. But, so, imagine Prabhupada was at his age, and still he went in a ship. I mean, it's very difficult to imagine because we are not yet 70, 73 years old. But when one comes to this age, how old are you? 65. So 5 years from now, imagine if you were living in Vrindavan at 65, and you're living very nicely, right in the temple of Srila Rupa Goswami, of Chitta Goswami, Radha temple, living right there, being able to see the deities of the Goswamis, and you've led a long life, and finally you've retired there. Can you imagine what it would be like to go as Prabhupada went? First of all, to start writing these books, Srimad Bhagavatam at this age. to, type the manuscripts as Prabhupada did, word for word, letter for letter, typing without no electric typewriter, and just typing away, studying typing, then going into New Delhi and asking people for donations, then going to the printer to print the books, see the proofs and making the corrections. Right? No family to look after him. And the whole time he's thinking. My guru told me I should go to the West and preach in English this Krishna consciousness. Then writing magazine articles for Bhaktivedanta, again going to the printer, getting it published, going to people in New Delhi, going to shops and asking people, will you buy magazines? Or the trouble that Prabhupada took, and finally getting a steamship ticket, and the person in the company who gave us the ticket thought, you shouldn't go, you're too old, you'll die, you'll never even be able to come back. You're living in Vrindavan, why do you want to take this trouble? Prabhupada took this trouble. Who can understand the qualities of Srila Prabhupada? The great difficulty and trouble that he took on behalf of the whole world. And understand that he gave Krishna consciousness in such a way that the whole world can take shelter. It's not there. Others have also come. Others have also come. Many swamis have come, even at that age. But what they gave was the blank. They only gave a blank. They have not fired the gun the way that Prabhupada did. They did not create a movement like his kind. They did not create books like these books, which in every language of the world, every country of the world, has created shelter for so many people. Nobody else has done this. And what kind of shelter? Actual shelter, Radha and Krishna going in time. It's not only the physical austerity of what he did, but the quality of what he did is so astonishing. And that he trained devotees. He trained devotees. Again, I must say, when I hear this criticism, that ISKCON devotees, leaders, are not sadhus, I just think that what they're saying is that Prabhupada was unable to train anyone to be a sadhu. It is such a direct attack and discrediting of Prabhupada that he could not train any saintly persons. All leaders of this country are all sadhu. This is what some people now say. This is a direct statement about Prabhupada. The father could not produce any worthwhile sons. They're all useless. But what does it say about the father? Well, I think it must be that they have worthwhile sons and worthwhile daughters, because otherwise, how is it possible that these temples are here? How is it possible that these are here? How is it possible that kirtan goes on? Because it is either being done by the sons, daughters, grandsons, or granddaughters. If the grandfather is qualified, but the father is not qualified, but the grandchildren are qualified, that also doesn't make sense. Because how did the qualification come? It comes through Guru Parampara. Otherwise, Krishna said it would be lost. Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj pushed me, and I am pushing you, and now you must push others. And he said, my Guru Maharaj, when he left this world, was unhappy because of the state of affairs. He said that I'm leaving in a very peaceful way, because I see that I have so many qualified disciples. The Prabhupada was very satisfied and pleased. Again and again he was pleased. He used to say that even my Guru Maharaj's sannyasi disciples tried to go and establish temples in Europe, but they failed. But my disciples, even boys and girls, husband and wife, young married couple, they have gone to London, they have gone to Paris, they have gone to Germany, and they have opened temples without any compromise. He was so appreciative of what the devotees. It used to be people were so appreciative of his kind of devotees. When I first went to India, even now, people are so appreciative that how you Western people have been able to take up Krishna consciousness. You came from wealthy backgrounds, good, wealthy country, and yet you're taking up this life of Krishna consciousness, which we ourselves find difficult to do. So many people appreciate it like that. So I'm just amazed when I hear some people making false propaganda in this country. This country devotees are not Vaishnavas, they're not sadhus. And this Arche, Vishnu, Shilati, Purushu, Naramati, Vaishnava, Jati, Buddhi. Anyone who says that the deity is made of stone, or that the guru is an ordinary person, or that a Vaishnava is an American or an Indian, who says that a Vaishnava is not simply Krishna Das or Krishna Dasi, such a person is fit for going to hell. That means a person is going to hell. When they make this criticism, the guru is an ordinary person. The Vaishnavas are, simply American Vaishnavas or this type of Vaishnava, that, and say it in a derogatory way. The statement is, such a person is going to hell. Scripture says this. None of them are Vaishnava. They go to hell. None of them. But we should be appreciative. If we cannot appreciate another person's service and ability, it is envy. It's only envy that makes us like that. When you see someone else doing something very nice and you can't say jai, but you say die. What is the nature of such a mentality? People going around telling other people, don't take initiation from this kind of gurus. This is going on by so-called initiated devotees. This kind of gurus cannot help you. They are this, they are that, they are this, they are that. It's such a sorry thing. I can't imagine what Krishna is thinking when such people talk like this. And if we do not do anything, after hearing this, yesterday you asked me, what should be done? What you should do is you should go to every house, go on every telephone, and speak about the glories of ISKCON, Prabhupada, and the devotees of ISKCON. If you really want to do something, you don't sit back and do nothing. You should do something. As people are giving false propaganda, you should give the real propaganda, the real truth. You should propagate the truth of what ISKCON is. And that will counteract all of this nonsense, false propaganda. This is such a golden opportunity that certain people have fallen down and become bewildered and attack their own guru and attack ISKCON and attack the Vaishnava. It's such a good opportunity now for you to preach. Each and every one. And if you don't preach, then you all become implicated in this Vaishnava and Guru apparatus. Knowing that these things are going on, if you don't do something to counteract it, by going and speaking to the people who are hearing this thing and telling them the truth, then you become implicated. Actually, you have no choice now. Either you yourself have to go and straighten out, give the real facts, or you become guilty of the same misdeed. Because it is said that if you hear such opera, then unless you can correct it, then you have to kill yourself. And I don't think anyone here is prepared to kill themselves. So this is, somehow Krishna has arranged this unfortunate situation, and actually it is meant for your fortune. Because most people are very lethargic. They allow the temple president or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people to do most of the service. And they just come on Sundays and say, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. But here is such a golden opportunity. Now, you can't do that. If you only come on Sunday and say Hari Bo, Hari Bo, or if you only go 2 or 3 mornings and do your arati, that won't be enough. Because you all know that so many offenses are being made. And if you don't go out in the evening, some free time, and start to correct this, if you don't get on the telephone and say, if you got these nonsense letters, this is the actual fact, then you're all going to become implicated. I think that Krishna has made this arrangement. He has allowed these persons to become completely misled, fallen, and bewildered, just to give sincere devotees an opportunity to increase preaching. That actually is what has happened. And by the grace of these fallen persons, this whole project can now come up. Because it's going to force you to have to meet so many people and actually tell them the truth. Otherwise, you would have simply been satisfied. A few people are preaching, everything is going on, let others do anything, I'll just chant my 16 rounds. Now you can't do that anymore. If you only chant 16 rounds and someone is committing Guru Aparad, and you know they're committing Guru Aparad, you know they're committing Vaishnava Aparad, you know they're committing Seva Aparad, attacking the temple, the deity, and the society that the deity is a part of, and you don't do anything to counteract it. Just like if someone is committing violence, if someone is committing a murder, and you stand by and watch it, you can also be brought into court. You can also get brought into court for this. If a wrongful act is committed, and you do not do something to correct it, you also become culpable. So, somehow Krishna has allowed these persons with the intention that you will all now take up the work of preaching, which has always been the desire of Guru and Guru. I hope that you take my words seriously to heart, because if you don't, I think that you may get some reaction. You may get some reaction for these offenses. Because these are just like, the offenses are very, very nasty. If a filthy animal came into this room and passed stool on this floor, you would all become horrified, and you would rush to clean it up. Do you think that what is going on is any less than that? Do you think that the things which are being written and said are any less than that? They are so much worse than that, actually, because they're being polluted, or the whole city is polluted. The pollution that comes from the exhausts of cars, the pollution that comes in the water from the industrial waste is nothing compared to the spiritual pollution that is spewing out of the mouths of these persons. Same people who said you should take initiation, now they said you should not take initiation. The same people who said support this temple, now say you should not support this temple. The same people who said Jai Gurudev now say Die Gurudev. What kind of quality of a person is that? That is Vaishnava. Prabhupada gave the example that as long as Krishna was in Vrindavan, nobody knew about him. But as soon as so many demons came from the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Krishna began to fight, then he became world famous. So I think that all this time, very few people knew the glories of God in the Madhava. But now that some big demons, or little demons, actually they're not big demons, but little demons have begun to attack Radha Madhava. Now I think that they are going to become very famous. But where are the Pandavas? This is what we want to see. Who are the Pandavas? Who are the Satyakis? Where are the bold persons who will defend Krishna's side against the attack of such puny demons? If you think the persons are not, if you think it is unfair to call such a person a demon, it's not unfair. Because actually there's a chapter that says divine and demoniac nature. And this explains that in each and every conditioned soul, there is a divine and demoniac nature. So when we take guidance from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then the divine quality comes out. But when we act independently of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and we allow our false ego and our mind and polluted intelligence to control us, then the demoniac nature comes out. What is a demon? A demon is one who opposes the service of Krishna. When people are told, don't go to the temple, don't give your donations to ISKCON, what kind of nature is that? It is me, the demoniac quality has come. And how is it that the demoniac quality comes? By association with other demoniac qualities. That by association. Sadhu Sangha brings saintly qualities. Asadhu Sangha brings impure qualities. One of Srila Prabhupada's first sannyasis went to India, and he got contaminated by Mayavad philosophy. The first person Prabhupada gave sannyas who got contaminated by Mayavad philosophy. Immediately Prabhupada wrote a letter to the devotees and told them that the letter should be circulated to all temples. Do not let this person into the temple, and no one should associate with him. Because he has become a Mayavad. I'm giving you a precedent from an example of a person who must have been very good devotee, otherwise how Prabhupada would him sannyas. But I'm showing you an even very good person who was the first sannyasi, he could become contaminated by Mayavad. And Prabhupada didn't say, anyway, we should only think of the good things he did in the past. It doesn't matter what he does now. Prabhupada didn't say that. He didn't say that. He was prepared to accept that, and in fact, when that person fell at Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet and begged forgiveness of all the Vaishnavas, and begged forgiveness from the deities, and Prabhupada immediately embraced him and welcomed him back. And immediately restored him to his position, even more so. Because the qualities of divine quality and demoniac quality are there. Just like in Ayurveda, it is said disease is already in the body of a healthy man. But as long as the three doshas are balanced, the disease cannot act. But when there's an imbalance, immediately the disease becomes prominent and it manifests. But the disease is already inside the body, even in an apparently healthy person. So there are demoniac qualities in everyone. Otherwise, how have we come in this material world? We're not avatars of Krishna. We didn't just come here to bless the people of Krishna. We came for other reasons. But as long as we were willing to follow the guidance of Guru, saintly persons, and Scripture, those demoniac qualities do not come out. The doshas, just like Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, like the doshas, everything is still balanced. But as soon as we give up, what? As soon as we stop reading Scripture carefully, or associate instead of with sadhu with asadhu, or we give up the guidance of Guru, then immediately the imbalance takes place, and the demonic nature, the demon within, rises up. Then you don't say you're a devotee. The person is no longer a devotee. Prabhupada didn't say he's a devotee. He said, don't associate with this person. He has become demonic. And when the person rectified, then he welcomed him back. And Krishna is very merciful. Guru is very merciful. Vaishnavas are very merciful. They will have notion of mercy. Krivam buddhi. Don't want to hold anything against someone. But they have to see that the person is really rectified. Not just from the lips, oh, I'm sorry. But actually from actions, they prove that they're sorry. These things you now have to explain to everyone, all of you. You have to go out, each of you have to make up lists of devotees, and guests and visitors to see, and you have to see 2 or 3 people every night. At least 3 or 4 nights a week you've got to go out. And that's going to be your austerity. Here it says, I am the penance of all ascetics. Prabhupada says the capacity to tolerate austerity. This is going to be an austerity. You're not going to want to do this. You have your other plans. But Krishna has his. And each one of you has to accept this responsibility because you took initiation into Sampradaya. You have to accept the responsibility that goes with it. Knowing that this blasphemy is going on, like I said, if a mad animal or a very gross animal came into this temple and passed through, you would not allow it to remain there, you would immediately clean it away. You would not go home and just rest peacefully. You would rush to the temple and clean. Because mad animals are polluting the entire congregation of people, innocent public. How can you not do something? How can you think it is not your duty to do so? Or you think, no, it is justified. You think it is justified. Or you think, I'm doing everything, I'm already serving the deity, I'm chanting my job, but others should do. No, it won't work that way. I have my duty, I have my job, I have my family, I have no time. You have to make time. This is called austerity. And if you don't, then some part of this offense is going to come on you. There's no way to avoid it. You cannot say, I don't want to read what this blasphemy is, and that will free me from the offense. Because the blasphemy is being read by so many people. And you know that. Therefore you have to correct it. You ask me, what should we do? Become physically violent? No, never. I don't say such a thing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to become physically violent. Even he was stopped by Lord Nityananda. This is not a question of physical violence. This is a question of preaching. Krishna is now asking everyone here to go out and preach. He created this situation. He allowed this situation, knowing that these people had very heavy anarthas in their heart, knowing that they had deep envy in their heart. He allowed that envy to manifest. And it's now going to be, if you want to, be turned around positively. You can make this your greatest fortune. These people who were formerly the well-wishers of this temple will still be the well-wishers now in a negative way. Before they were well-wishers in a positive way. Now they're acting negatively, but by their negative action, if they make you go out and preach, then they're still helping. Then we still thank you. Thank you very much. You're still our example. Before you were a positive example that we could follow. Now your negative example is also encouraging us. So you're still our well-wisher. We think you're our well-wishers. Thank you very much. No malice in the heart. We don't feel any hatred towards them. We hate, just like it says in the Bible, don't hate the sinner, hate the sin. We don't have any hatred towards the sin, but the sin we hate. And it's our duty to eradicate the sin, or the sin will come in our heart. If you don't stop someone who is blaspheming, and you become blasphemous yourself, automatically that will happen. I have seen it. But the same person who was carrying on now, I have seen it. I told him a year ago, don't associate with this other person. He said, you don't know, I'm not that kind of disciple that can be easily misled. I said, you don't realize what you're saying. Don't associate. Still, he went on associating. Oh, I'm on the phone, here and here. This is the result. It must act like this. Association. Hiranyakasipu talked a lot on Maharaj. Association is such a thing that whatever you associate with, like a mirror, it will reflect it. He was telling Prahlad, don't associate with these bad persons called Vaishnavas. Because if you associate with them, you'll also become one of them. So association is like this. You associate with an evil-minded person, you become evil-minded. What does Rupa Goswami say? What does he say? He said, give up the association of persons who are opposed to devotional service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Asat Sangatya, a Vaishnavaja. How do you know who is a Vaishnava? Asat Sangatya. They give up Asat Sangha, impure association. If someone is Guru Aparadi, Vaishnava Aparadi, Iskon Aparadi, and you associate with them, is that Asat Sangha? Certainly it is Asat Sangha. Asat Sangatya, you have to give up that association. Not that you take that association and embrace it as if it is something very valuable, because it's from the same community, because it's from the same, you're obliged in so many ways. What is that? What is that? That's skin consciousness, skin disease. Oh, he's from my community, I cannot give him up. Oh, he's from my country, I cannot give him up. He's from the same culture, I cannot give him up. This is skin disease. Blood is thicker than spirit. No, they say blood is thicker than water, but it's also, it seems, thicker than spirit. This is my blood brother. He has helped me in so many ways, now I must help him. Never mind what he has done. Just like Karna. This was Karna's mentality. I must stand by Duryodhana. Duryodhana is very good. No, he has helped me. Duryodhana helped me. What is Karna's fault? He supported Duryodhana. That is his fault. He should have supported Krishna's son, but he supported Duryodhana. Why did he support Duryodhana? What is the reason Karna supported Duryodhana? Because Duryodhana did so much for Karna. The same thing. Someone gives someone some material help, so then they can, I must support him. It doesn't matter what that person does. Duryodhana was so sinful, still Karna supported him. And why did Dishna die? You just see, Dishna died, Dronacharya died, Karna died, they all had to die. Why? Because they all supported the detestable behavior of Duryodhana and his party. Even Vishnu, who was Pitamaha, grandfather, who was Mahajan, even he had to die because he supported the wrong cause. That is how strong Dharma is. This is the same Krishna that fought on the battlefield with Arjuna. The same Krishna is standing here. If you support the wrong cause, you will be finished spiritually. You will not die physically, you will die spiritually. And if you don't know how to discriminate which is the right and the wrong cause, then ask your guru. And if you have no guru, then what is your position? Then you're confused. You're confused. Be humble enough to realize that you're confused. Have enough sense to see that if you support the wrong side, spiritually it's suicide. So, I humbly say to you, that this verse explains what is the penance of ascetics. This is Vairagya Vidya. The movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is meant for renunciation. Now you have to accept this amount of renunciation, that whatever your plans were for this month, and next month, and probably the rest of this year, 2 or 3 years, you may have to alter your plans. Yes, you may have to alter your plans. You may have to give up 1 hour, 2 hours every day. If you suddenly find out that someone in your family has cancer, will you give them 1 or 2 hours of time to take care of them? Now I'm saying that this very serious cancer is spreading. And if you don't put in 1 or 2 hours on a regular basis throughout this week and the next weeks and years to come, this cancer is going to spread into your house. It's going to spread into the house of Israel. You have to work to eradicate it. If you don't understand this, it means you're not understanding spiritually what I'm talking about. If it's only because you can only believe what a doctor says about cancer in the body, that is a material thing. I'm talking as real about a real thing, spiritual cancer. Aparat, offense, worst thing of all, offense. The number 1 devotee killer is offense. This is what destroys bhakti. There's an enemy of bhakti. Why are we here? We're here for Krishna Bhakti. We're here to serve Krishna. But what is the thing that will undo that Krishna Bhakti? Offenses. What kind of offenses? Against the Vaishnavas and against Guru. Not just one Guru, the whole Guru Parampara. Alright. Anybody have any questions? Otherwise, now Arti, ready? Alright, let us have Arti. Take the shelter of Sri Sri Radha. Sri Sri Radha Nila Madhava ki. Sri Sri Radha Giridhari ki. Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki. Sri Sri Gaurnitai ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Sri Guru Vrinda ki. Sri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki. Gaur Premanande.